Are we already filming?
Yeah, we are actually.
Hi,
Absolutely.
peepees. Hello, Nina. So we're here to talk about Shanti Flow yoga, which is your softer, more gentle style of yoga.
Yes, it is. And it's a flow-based practice. And that's really important for me, is to be offering this work which is gentle, which is yin in quality, but which is flow-based.
So if we would attend a Shanti Flow class, what would it look like?
The way it's sort of evolved is that there are these three levels, which are the grounding practices, the softening practices, the sweetening practices. And that's that journey into softness, that journey into sweetness. So how much are you going to see of these practices at any specific class depends on the energy of that day, the energy of the group, and how much experience people actually have with Shanti Flow yoga. I feel that the more delicate work, the gentler, more subtle, softer work actually takes more experience.
Can you tell us a bit more about the movement meditation?
Through diving into movement meditation, we're exploring softening. What you notice is that tension obstructs movement. And so diving into softness is releasing tension. Releasing tension is facilitating movement. The more stressed out and tight we are, the less we can move. We become brittle, we become constricted. So movement is a wonderful, wonderful quality to introduce into the yoga practice. If you try to imagine in your mind, can I express the qualities of gentleness and grace through poses? Or would I imagine I can explore gentleness and grace through movement? I don't know what you feel about it, but for me it seems pretty obvious that movement relates very well to the idea of gentleness and grace. And these are qualities that are really inherent, really at the heart of the Shanti Flow practice. The exploration of our gentle nature, our graceful nature.
So nowadays people basically practice yoga whenever they feel like it. But what would be a natural moment to practice Shanti Flow yoga?
Basically, Shanti Flow yoga is great to practice when you need rest and recharging. When you go into that moment in your life cycle or in your week where you've been working hard and you just need to ground down and recharge. It's also very good if you need movement. Maybe you had a deadline and you were stuck behind a computer for like hours and hours every day, and finally you've wrapped up the project and you think, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, but at the same time I need movement. Well, you need a certain kind of movement, a kind of movement that is nourishing, not depleting. You don't want to exhaust yourself, you're already tired, but you want to recharge.
So when you say yin in quality, can you elaborate on that?
Well, yin is a quality. It's a quality of energy. And people in the yoga world, people associate yin with a specific style of yoga called yin yoga. But actually, yin is a quality that goes back to its roots, which is the Chinese tradition. And this can be explored in many ways. It's very interesting how yoga is associated with stillness and the Chinese tradition is all associated with movement.
So in the teacher training, we would learn to teach all three levels of the Shanti Flow practice.
Well, that's really my idea. I think that's the best. As someone who's teaching this work myself, I've been exploring this work for years and trying to find my way with this work. This is what I've come to understand, is that the best way is to have the whole toolkit, in which case you're best suited to deal with whatever's in front of you. However, the Shanti Flow teacher training as a 100-hour program is divided into these 2 modules, where the first module deals with the first 2 levels of practice, which are slow flow and gentle vinyasa. And the second module dives into this yin flow and movement meditation. And it is optional, and it's, people may choose to do only one module and not the other. And I've thrown that open, and leaving that like that for now. But yeah, I would advise people to consider to do the whole program, in which case they'd be eligible for the Shanti Flow certification, and then they'd be equipped with this toolkit, which is these 3 levels of practice. And for me, that's a more complete approach. Yeah.
So, who is your audience? What background do you need to attend the training?
Well, what I've noticed in the last years, offering the first module, which is the slow flow and gentle vinyasa module, is that there were a number of people who came to the module who were yin yogis and had only ever done yin yoga. It's what they do. They love their yin yoga. But many of them were curious to explore beyond yin yoga, but they would not be interested in a vinyasa yoga teacher training. And I understand why this is, and that is because vinyasa yoga has a reputation of being very dynamic and very challenging. And so the way that this teacher training is described is attractive to people who are interested in exploring the softer, gentler, more healing, recharging pathway. But they may be interested to learn more about how they can approach this in a flow-based practice. On the other side, I've also had vinyasa yoga teachers, ashtanga yoga teachers, hot yoga teachers attending this program because they're interested to learn how to soften their practice. If you study ashtanga yoga, or if you study a very powerful power yoga, vinyasa yoga, or even a hot yoga practice or teacher training, you don't learn about the lunar practice. You don't learn about this softer, gentler approach. So yeah, it seems to interest a lot of people from different sides.
So, if I'm a hardcore vinyasa teacher or an ashtanga teacher and I want to soften my practice or my teaching, what tools will you offer?
The 3 levels of Shanti Flow, it's very extensive. The grounding work, for example, is really to connect to this downward flowing energy, apana, the rooting, the grounding, the stability, and ultimately this relationship to the earth, which is dropping into the body, and it is stress release. This is something that I constantly refer to during the teacher training, this idea that tension rises in the body, and so actually tension actually has a direction, a sense of direction, and the direction is up. You're kind of holding and lifting away from the earth. So there's this dropping and releasing, which is at the heart of lunar practice, which we explore through the grounding practices. But then in the gentle vinyasa, which are softening practices, we're exploring movement-based work in a way that is effortless. And to learn how to work effortlessly, so as to not use too much energy and so as not to exhaust yourself, is to learn to work with weight, to learn to work with gravity and grace. And this movement-based work, which is fluid and harmonious, very much kind of balances and harmonizes physical body, energy body. At the heart of the practice and at the heart of the teachings is a lot of work with breath. And flow-based practice is actually breath-based practice. And so really to give a lot of very specific teachings about breath, which are the basis of this work. There's a reason people don't breathe deeply, and that is tension that's locked up in the body, and these patterns of tension and contraction are locked into the body. So to release that requires techniques that enable us to actually let go of that holding. And breath-based practice is really the heart of flow-based practice. So sharing specific breath work to help to find that release and that softening is also really an important part of the practice.
Yeah, so now you've told us a little bit more about the grounding practices and a little bit more about the softening practices. Now, the sweetening practices is what you call yin flow. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, it kind of speaks for itself. Basically, yin yoga is well known, consists of a number of poses, and they're called the yin poses, belonging to this system called yin yoga. So I really enjoy to share with people the yin flows, and these are movement-based practices and breath-based practices through which we can dive deeper into softness, gentleness, surrender, diving deep into breath connection and exploring how we can feel the breath in the different parts of our body and how we can direct the breath through these movement-based practices to different parts of our bodies. And it is really the breath then and the prana, the life energy associated with breath, that is then responsible for this healing, for this recharging, for this nourishing, that we offer the life energy to our organs and to our nervous systems. So yeah, it's also a fluid practice, the yin flow, but the work is very subtle. And I think we need to cultivate sensitivity in order to be open for this level of subtlety. You know, I've experienced that in trying to teach and offer the yin flow work and the movement meditation, very subtle work, sometimes people are actually not ready for it. So it is, in my opinion, the yin flow and movement meditation is actually the most advanced, even though it is the softest. Mm-hmm. And how I understand this is that, like if you have, let's say, your neutral state, your daily state of body, state of mind, and you want to go in this direction, which is the solar direction, and you want to work towards handstand. It takes preparation. You can't just suddenly do handstand. You need to prepare your body for it. You need to practice, and then, you prepare to go there. Now, in the other direction, which is the direction, the lunar direction, which moves towards relaxation and softness, what's clear to me, and it becomes very clear if you explore Shanti Flow, is that this also takes preparation. Mm-hmm. You can't suddenly relax completely because the tension is locked up in the body. So the preparation for the yin flow is actually this softening of slow flow, gentle vinyasa and tension release exercises that prepares us for this level of surrender that is the softness of the yin flow work.
So, yeah, the surrendering becomes the peak pose, so to say.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, it's absolutely true that the surrendering becomes the peak pose. Yeah. And the goal of the practice is ultimately to experience surrender, not only physically, not only in my bones and my fascia and my muscles, but also on a deeper level, that I experience the quality of softness and gentleness in my heart and in my mind, so that it becomes a state, a feeling state. So we're actually really wanting to transform ourselves deeply through this work. As is explained in the yoga tradition, that our peaceful nature is our true nature. We want to feel that. We want to dive into that. So the physical exercises that we're doing, the breath work, the softening exercises, the sweetening exercises are all hopefully opening us to an experience of the inner world and an experience of these qualities that are inherent, that are inside of us, and these qualities that then open, these inner lotuses that then blossom, and that we then, make contact with the inner jewels, that we're able to explore deeper into our own nature, essentially, our own essence nature.
Do I have to be a teacher to join the training program?
I think it's perfect if you're a practitioner and you want to do a teacher training module like this for your own benefit to deepen your practice. Well, bravo, that's wonderful.
So you've mentioned that you studied the lunar teachings of Vinyasa Yoga. Are there other sources of inspiration?
Well, I want to stay loyal to the yoga tradition, and you know, if I'm calling it yoga, it has to have a relationship to the yoga tradition. And I am doing that, but at the same time, my understanding of yoga, you know, really opened up through the studying I did, specifically with the Prana-Vinyasa school. It's really given me possibility to find a way to include my background with movement, because you know, it's been a lifelong journey of exploring the transformative power of movement and breath-based movement. I have a long history with dance, and I danced for decades professionally. I had a wonderful career exploring myself through movement, and I learned so much in those years that I do need to bring that work into what I'm teaching, because I recognize the power, the transformative power of movement-based practice, because I've been working with movement for so many years.
So let's say I've completed both modules, the slow flow and gentle vinyasa, and the yin flow and the movement meditation. Then what?
Well, I'm really happy to be creating the Teacher's Directory, which is a page on the Shanti Flow website. And the Teacher's Directory is where the teachers who have completed the program are listed, right? So I think it's wonderful that, you know, if teachers have understood the practice and are embodying the practice and are able to teach it well, that they can be listed there on such a page, which is a Teacher's Directory. And I really want to do that for the teachers, because I want to create a community around this body of work that I'm calling Shanti Flow, and that we, as the teachers who are practicing this and who are sharing it, can, you know, sort of defend the work and take it forward. You know, get this under your belt, and you'll be amazed at what you have then in your hand in terms of a toolkit that enables you to work with people and offer beautiful transformative practices, offer masterclasses, offer workshops, offer your own training programs. So great to build a Teacher's Directory and build a community around the work.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking the time to answer all these questions. If you have any more questions, then please feel free to drop your comment below. And
see you on the mat. Thanks, Lindsay. Namaste.